brief description of the book, please.
So we are starting a new series. Now I know I promised you guys after we finish the Sharei Kedusha, we're gonna go back to Asrot Hayim. But I think it's still too early.
Too heavy. I think it's too heavy.
And I don't think it's heavy. I think it's just first of all, it's not enough to learn it once a week. I'll be honest with you. You're gonna forget this, that. Plus, I also wanted to teach you with this sefer over here of Yitzhak Kaduri. Sharei Orah is the name of this. It's our new sefer. It's a pretty thick book. That's because there's a lot of mefarshim over here.
Kaduri?
Of Yitzhak Kaduri, yes.
Kaduri?
Yeah. I'm not really sure what you mean.
How many Rav Kadurs do you know, bro? Come on.
So Rabbi Yitzhak, he has a question and answer book. Question and answer. It's called Dishut Divrei Yitzhak. Shalom Divrei Yitzhak. So in this book, they asked him about this book. He says this book, Sharei Orah, used to be the Ari HaKadosh's. He never used to leave the Ari's hands. The Ari always used to learn from the Sefer. Because we have this crazy notion, thank you, that as if Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai came out of his mom's womb and Nishamot of souls were speaking to him and Magids and he threw the Zohar. False, false, false. We think the Ari HaKadosh was one day on the island in Mitzrayim and he was learning and boom, Eliyahu Hanavi showed up to him. No, it's nonsense. That's not the way it worked. All these tzaddikim had Sfarim before them. And these tzaddikim learned introductions that were already placed in front of them. And these introductions were the beginning of their journey. So for example, in the book of the Zohar HaKadosh, whoever ever learned the Zohar, whoever even opened the Zohar once in his life, sometimes you go a couple of pages, suddenly you see that Rabbi Shimon is mentioning another book. In fact, in the Zohar itself, there's at least a mention of 30 different books.
One is the old books.
So, whoever listened to my last Sharei Gilgulim Shiur, it was a phenomenal Shiur, by the way, and we spoke a lot.
This one?
Yeah, the one that I just posted, Gabriel just posted. We talked about one of the souls that was always talking to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. His name was Rav Hamnuna Saba.
Yeah.
Rav Hamnuna Saba is also called the Big Fish. And he tells Rabbi Shimon, you're sitting with me in Gan Eden in Shamayim.
Wow.
So and you're like, who's Rav Hamnuna Saba? Like, where does he show up even? But if you look, like Hamnuna, like Nuna, like Nuna Yama. So if you look in Shar Gilgulim chapter 36, you see over there that the source of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's soul actually is from the source of Moshe Rabbeinu. There's a couple of tzaddikim in that list. And above Rabbi Shimon is a rabbi called Rav Hamnuna Saba, and he was a Kabbalist before Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And he had a book. We don't have that book today.
But he uses that book.
Rabbi Shimon used that book.
But he doesn't quote like
he quotes him verbatim.
But without the name of the book, you're saying.
It's called the Book of Rav Hamnuna Saba.
Okay.
And for example, there is a book of Chanoch. Chanoch, the one that went to Shamayim, the Ari quotes it. The Rabbi Shimon quotes him. Sifra de Chanoch.
What about
The Kritmachs took this book and one of their 27 books called the Book of Enoch. They changed it into Enoch, Chanoch, Enoch. And they changed the wordings over there, they changed the name, they made it look as if Yoshka is the Mashiach in that book. You understand? So we don't have the original copy of Sifra Dechanoch, we just know Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai used to use the book, Sifra Dechanoch. He quotes it. There's so many books written inside the book of Torah, the book of this, the book of that. So all these tzaddikim, they didn't just come out of their mom's belly knowing, or they worked on it, and they had rebbes, and they had hakdamot, they had introductions that they already learned. That means they started from somewhere.
Not from scratch.
Not from scratch. And the Ari HaKadosh too. The Ari HaKadosh started from somewhere. Obviously he had the Zohar HaKadosh. Obviously he had the Zohar. But he also had, remember, in front, before the Ari became the Ari. Remember, the Ari is not that far away from us. He's at the end of the Spanish Inquisition.
500
That's 500 years ago, 1500s, early 1500s. You understand? Well, that's far in the scope of history. That's not that far.
Not at all.
It's not that far. The scope of history.
That's
the beginning of the Achronim period.
Moshe Rabbeinu is far.
You understand?
But that's not.
That's the beginning of the last period of the Jewish people, right after the Spanish Inquisition, which was a big catastrophe. Now we have to understand that the Jewish people when we go through a big era, like there's always like a matana at the end. There's a gift. For example, after the Spanish Inquisition, which is the end of the Rishonim period, there was the Ari HaKadosh, the birth of the Lurianic Kabbalah. You understand? After Mitzrayim was Matan Torah. After the Holocaust was Jews returning to Eretz Yisrael. Remember, the Jews came back to Eretz Yisrael in a couple of waves. Now this is all prophesied in the book of Ezekiel. It's all prophesied. The Jews will be in Israel before Mashiach is Midgaleh. It's prophesied already there in chapter 37. And also in the book of Isaiah, he prophesies that the Jews will return. There was a big wave of Aliyah of 1 million Jews that came to Eretz Yisrael. I don't know, I think it was 60-something. One of these years, there was a huge wave of 1 million Jews that came to Eretz Yisrael. So all these things were prophesied, and these things always happen after a catastrophe. Because from the breaking comes the tikkun. Now, the Spanish Inquisition was the Spanish Jewry was a great time. A great time. And you should know one thing, that in Spain, the Jews used to learn over there the secrets of the Torah. They were big Mikubalim over there. Not the Lurianic Kabbalah, but we have Sfarim from 1,000 years ago, not one, not two, dozens of tzaddikim that used to write Sfarim based, and there's books that came out today. Today, in our time, we have Sfarim from that time, from that era. There is actually a Machon institution in Israel that just takes out these Sfarim. Now, one of those rabbis in the time, right before Spanish Inquisition, was a rabbi called Rabbi Avram Abulafia. Abulafia. Very controversial figure. He was called a Yoshka follower. He tried to convert the Pope to Judaism. At the end, nobody knows what happened to him. He disappeared. Poof!
No, there's a big franchise left.
He literally just disappeared. Nobody knows what happened to him.
There's a big franchise.
The Rashba, the great sage, the Rashba calls him in his books a faker. He actually called himself a prophet.
Abulafia?
Yeah, Avram Abulafia. We have his books today, not all of them.
How do we learn
his
him,
books?
though?
Huh?
How do we?
Oh,
We learned what not to do.
No, but no, if you have big rabbis going against him,
he would not just go over there. You know who the Rashba is?
Yeah, so
The Rashba is like the Rambam.
how do you learn?
So they did against Rambam too. They did the
Yeah, but
The Rambam, nobody accused him of being a JC follower.
Yeah.
They burned his books.
Yeah,
but
but
that's
the
different.
ones who burned his books were the same. The Rambam's greatest criticizer was the
Yeah.
one who published his books.
Yeah, because
The
Rabbi
Rabbi.
Yonah.
No, Rabbi Yonah was the
Yeah.
one. He didn't publish his books, but
Sure.
he
Distributed.
He did not just distribute. He publicized. He publicized his books. But the actual printer to publish his books in Europe, southern France, was the Ravad. The Ravad was his greatest criticizer. In the Rambam's books, the Ravad always write, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about, he doesn't know what is this here. The Rishonim didn't talk nicely to one another. They spoke like fire. Yeah, he told Rambam, the Rambam sometimes writes, I swear, like, I'm telling you, this is the truth. So the Ravad writes in one of his things, even if he swears all day on the crowns of the Torah, we don't look at this halakha, we don't even look at it like he's nothing. And the Ravad, by the way, the Ari writes, was a Mikubal. Eliyahu Navi was Midgaleh Elav and taught him halakha. And we still don't follow the Ravad. We follow the Rambam.
Why?
And this is not a Rishonim class.
So how do we learn Abulafia?
So Rabbi Avram Abulafia, the truth is we have very great people that also said that he was for real. And one of them, believe it or not, is Rav Chaim Vital. Rav Chaim Vital quotes him verbatim in Sharei Kedusha, the 4th section, which is not published in this book. He quotes him. And Rav Avram Abulafia, his main mission was to bring back prophecy to Israel. This was his mission, to bring back prophecy. And he said to have prophecy, you don't have to be there. God doesn't come to you. You have to know the formula. If you're worthy, when you do the formula,
then you get
you're gonna get it, but you will feel something. You will see something that you might chas shalom get shebeng at the end. That's what happened to one of his students, Rav Yitzchak Dilarin. Remember once the guys, I told you guys a story
Yeah, 4 guys went out.
about the guys who came, they wanted to bring Mashiach,
Yeah.
and they fasted for 40 days, and then an angel came down, then they fasted again, then the Malach Matat came down, then they all messed up at the end,
Sino.
and then they all wanted, and he became a Gilgul into a black dog. Rav Yitzchak Dilarina, that's his name, Rav Yitzchak Dilarina. He was a student of Avraham Abulafia.
Which one?
Rav Yitzchak Dilarina. Spanish. He was a student of Avraham Abulafia, and his chavruta was Rav Yosef Gikatilla. Gikatilla.
Like that.
So he was Spanish.
Gikatilla.
He was a student. How do I know he was a student of Avraham Abulafia? How do I know? He never quotes his Rabbi because he was controversial. He never mentions him by name. I have a book, handwritten book of Rav Yitzchak Kaduri.
No way.
I was once happening through the pages, and in the book I see he mentions Rav Avraham Abulafia. I'm like, wow, he's a controversial figure. So I opened up and I started reading, and the Sfaradim, they don't write in the script of our days. The old Sfaradim used to write in something called Ktav Chetzi Ktav, it's called. It's like a weird script. You have to decipher it. And I know how to decipher it. It's not that hard. So you just need the alphabet. So anyways, I'm reading and I see over there, Rav Yitzchak Dilarina, Rav Yosef Gikatilia is the students of Avraham Abulafia. And Rav Avraham Abulafia cursed Rav Yitzchak Dilarina for trying to use Kabbalah Ma'asit. And that caused him to mess up at the end, and which made him Mishumad. Rav Yosef Gikatilia, he never used these things. How do we know this rabbi? He's actually quoted in the Bet Yosef. Rav Yosef Gikatilia, believe it or not, Min HaShamayim, he's quoted in Halachot Birkat HaLevana.
Where?
In the Bet Yosef.
Oh.
In the Shulchan Aruch, in the Bet Yosef, in the Torah. Where do we get the halacha that we bless the moon after 7 days? Does it make sense? Does the Ari say that? Does the Rashba say that? Does the Rambam say that? The Rambam says, comes the Rosh Chodesh, bless. But Rabbi Yosef Gikatilia, right, you have to wait 7 days. Because the moon is connected to the Sphira of Malchut. And Malchut is the moon. And Malchut is the 7th Sphira. So you have to wait 7 days. And guess who writes that? Not the Ari, Rabbi Yosef Karo. In the Beit Yosef, he writes this as halacha.
From him.
Until today, all of us, we don't know what we're doing. But we're following the halacha of Yosef Gikatilia. You didn't know that.
But he has a
Now
source.
you know that.
But he has a source from other people. Well, he
Rabbi
just,
Yosef Gikatilia?
Yeah.
From his Rabbi
Right,
and his
right.
Rabbi. It's all a Masorah, right? So the purpose of this book, Rabbi Isai, this shiur is just going to be an introduction, which I really want to do with you guys inside. The purpose of this book, what he did with Yosef Gikatilia, and he has many books, by the way. This is one of his books. This is his most famous book, with the Ari HaKadosh used to learn from. Rabbi Yosef Gikatilia took all the 10 sfirot. He said, you guys want to learn what the 10 sfirot are, right? Keter, Chokhmah, Binah, Chesed, Givurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yisod, Malchut, and sometimes Da'at. You want to know them, right? You think we're making this stuff up. I will show you in the Torah, in the Tehillim, all these sefirot.
oh, so he shows you.
He took them and he said, when God is, for example, saying the word Brit, it's actually an allusion to the Sfirat Hayesod. Where did the Ari get that? From the Yosef Gikatilia. When for example, when the Ari says, he says the word, the name Hashem of Ani. When God says Ani Hashem, I am Hashem, God is speaking through the Sphira of Malchut. The word Ani is always Malchut.
How many years
You
ago?
understand? Or whenever you see the word in the Torah, Amudim,
Pillars.
the pillars, that's Netzach and Hod. You understand? And like this, he takes all the 10 sfirot and he makes out of it a beautiful tapestry. And by knowing this sefer, you're going to read the Chumash and you're going to start to make connections. Like this is what Hashem was. Why is Lavan called Lavan? What does that allude? Why is he called the white one? Why Lavan? How does it do with the sphere of Keter? You understand? And all these sefirot are in the whole world was made from these are the vessels that the world was created with. And Rabbi Yosef Gikatilia, Zuchutu Yagen Aleinu.
Amen.
Amen. Who learns this sefer?
You, us.
Bayad Ehad. Bayad Ehad.
Yes.
You understand? But we're Me'orer Zechut. This is the new Zera Shimshon.
How many
We're
years?
Me'orer Zechut.
How many years is this?
He's before the Ari.
Well, how many years before
The
that?
time before that, I think 2 generations before the Ari at least.
So like 600-700 years
Yeah.
ago. Okay.
Time of the Girush, right before, during the Girush, right before the Girush.
From where? From
Sharei, he's from Rabbi Yosef Gikatilia, from Gikatilla. Yes, Rabbi Yosef Dilarina, from Dilarina, the family, yeah, you know what I'm saying. Alright? So therefore, I chose this book because you can open up the Ari, Yesod, it's beautiful words, very cute words. How do I apply it to myself? How do I see the whole world? When I look at a library, is the library a sphera? When somebody gives me a hand, are we connecting two sphirot? When a person is with his spouse, is he connecting sphirot?
Yes.
Is he making neshamot? When I'm making a chidush, am I doing something? When I'm eating food, ochel, why is ochel a certain gematria? Why is there, sometimes the Torah calls it achila, ochel, ma'achal. You understand? And by doing all these things, first of all, your mind will never be empty. You'll always think about the Torah. And it's the greatest tikkun of your neshama. Because now you're actually going to learn, if you make it to the end, you're going to learn the kavod of Hashem. This is the kavod of Hashem. To learn His name. The name Ekyeh, what sphera is that? The name Havaya. The name Amonai. The name Kel. Shakai. Why sometimes Hashem says Kel Shakai? Like this week's parasha. Why does Yaakov say to Yosef, Ani Kel Shakai nira alai beluz? What's Kel Shakai nira alai beluz? What's Kel Shakai? Why sometimes Shakai? Why sometimes Kel Shakai? All these things have a meaning. With Hashem Rabbi, we're going to start the Sharei Orah in-depth insight next week with the Pticha. Always we learn the introduction.
With the books in our hands.
With the Sfarim in our hands,
By the way.
and the Zchut
Oh, wait, that's it.
of Rabbi Yosef Gikatilia. Yagin Aleinu.
Amen.
כל עם ישראל.
Amen.
על כל הרווקים.
Amen.
והרווקות.
Amen.
ירצון שיזכו להתחתן.
Amen!
They should get married and they should stay married.
Amen.
זוכה לבנים.
Amen.
בנות.
Amen.
זרע בר קיימא.
Amen.
תורה, מצוות, מעשים טובים. And most importantly, שמחת חיים. ברוך אדוני לעולם. אמן.